Let's get to Biden and Trump agreeing to participate in two, not one, but two presidential debates.
Now to politics as promised, and President Biden and former President Donald Trump actually in agreement on something, and that is the dates for two presidential debates. Like so much of this election season, those debates will be happening way earlier than usual, something both candidates, they agree on that as well.
Make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice.
Two presidential debates now on the calendar. In a public back and forth, President Biden and former President Donald Trump agreeing to debate on June 27th and September 10th.
Donald Trump lost two debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate.
Biden's challenge to debate Trump comes as recent polls show the race stalled, especially in battleground states. But more concerning for the president, numbers show true weakness when voters are asked about how he's addressing the war in Gaza and the economy.
I'm here. I'm ready, willing, and able.
And the former president's used his brief appearances outside his criminal trial in Manhattan to repeatedly challenge Biden to debate. But he wants to go even bigger.
I think there should be more than two, and I think they should be in large venues. It's just more exciting.
The first debate will be held in the battleground state of Georgia, but without an audience, and the other will be a primetime face-off held in a news studio instead of a debate stage.
I am pleased to welcome you to this first presidential debate.
This surprise arrangement likely spells the end of the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, which has held them since 1988. And these joint appearances have a way of shaping perceptions about the candidates, thanks especially to how they're joked about later.
Governor Bush, strategery.
That's a great instance where the proof that you are showing immediately destroys the argument that you're making, because that motherfucker became president. So all the memes about how stupid he is was completely inconsequential. Just saying.
But the commission's 2020 debates drew criticism from all sides for being especially chaotic and contentious.
Will you shut up, man?
Contentious as in Trump did almost Biden. Something that we forget about. He literally had COVID. He was sick. And he went up on that stage against an 800-year-old corpse, just like coughing in his direction and shit, being like, hey, shake my hand.
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right. Gentlemen, I think
This is so unprecedented.
Ed, I really didn't think this was going to happen. So what was it that brought both candidates together to say,
Shake
yeah, we're
my
on board?
hand. Shake my hand, Brandon. If you're a real man, Joe Biden, you would shake my hand.
With a debate now.
Look, these guys both want to do this. They can't help themselves. The president eager to remind the country of the contrast between him and Donald Trump and motivate people.
ABC will allow simulcast, CNN won't. Bad form, CNN, very bad form. ABC will share the debate with other broadcast and streaming news networks. The simulcast, CNN has said only that its debate will air on its own platforms. Classic. I said some words that were very mean. Well, not really, but I said some stuff about this, and apparently liberals got very mad at me, and I didn't even realize because I don't have Twitter on my phone.
People inclined to vote for him.
But let's finish
by
this,
seeing
and
that
we'll cover that
contrast.
in a second.
The former president's been saying for months he'll debate anytime, anywhere. He also wants that contrast, hoping to reinforce perceptions about issues like the economy and take it directly to his opponent. And look, at a time when voters are saying either of these guys is too old to do the job, the other guy wants to show that they're quicker on their feet and will be able to withstand 4 more years. Tony.
All right, Ed, thank you very much.
It is crazy, by the way. The latest New York Times Siena poll showed that Biden is doing horrifyingly bad. Losing a fucking 12-point lead in Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, all these states where he's supposed to be dominating, with the exception of Wisconsin, is crazy. It's just so incredibly cooked. And so many of the Democratic Party loyal demographics are literally just not voting for Trump. Just not voting for Biden. Latino voters, like all of those states that we're looking at, Latino voters, a key constituency. The states that we're looking at where young voters are an important constituency, even though they don't vote in like massive numbers, it's still an important constituency for the winning constituency that the Democratic Party has to create in order to defeat the Republicans. It's not just public spin. Biden doesn't believe his bad poll numbers, nor do many of his top aides. Bro, this is literally Trump. Trump did these exact same shit per Dems who have spoken privately with the president and his team. This informs the largely steady as she goes campaign strategy. Democrats think the Biden team is in denial about the polling and sleepwalking into defeat. The Biden team is convinced the country will not reelect Trump once they face the choice in November. Ultimately, voters will decide which side is right. In public and private, Biden has been telling anyone who will listen that he's gaining ground and is probably up on Donald Trump in their rematch from 2020. While the press doesn't write about it, the momentum is clear in our favor, with the polls moving towards us and away from Trump, Biden told donors during a West Coast swing last week. Reality check, some national polls have shown Biden ahead or tied with Trump, and in several other polls, the president is within the survey's margins for error. Many aspects of Trump's candidacy, including his legal battles, are unprecedented and add more mystery to the election projections. That's why when people say Biden has been under 40% for 8 months straight, no president has ever won the election after registering under 40% approval in an election year, according to 538's approval. These are unprecedented times because no incumbent president has ever run against a former president that is in legal trouble for the horrifyingly bad, corrupt, awful job that he did in the past 4 years that he was president in. So that's the reason why it's not as black and white as you think it is. It is unprecedented. But my point is, you shouldn't fucking have to rely on that if you're the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is doing fairly well across the board, with the exception for Biden. Can you imagine a world in which like the Democratic Party wins the Senate and the House, but loses the presidency? Because it would be ridiculous. But, you know, we're kind of staring at a reality like that right now. Unless we get even more fucking Democrats to lose their goddamn seats due to corruption investigations. It is ridiculous. The one thing that unseats some of the worst, most right-wing Democrats in this fucking country is their endless thirst for gold bullions from the Egyptian government or securing side deals with the Azerbaijan government. It's like comical. Insane splits here. In 2024, presidential elections were held today. Who would you vote for if the candidates were Joe Biden and Donald Trump? Wisconsin, 47% Joe Biden, 45% Trump. Pennsylvania, 47% Trump. Arizona, 49% Trump, 42 Biden. Michigan, 49% Trump, 42 Biden. Georgia, 49% Trump, 39 Biden. Nevada, 50% Trump, 38% Biden. It's so crazy to think 4 years prior, Biden literally had a 12-point lead in Nevada, no? The New York Times Philadelphia Inquirer Siena College poll April 28th to May 9th. If this general election for U.S. Senate were held today, which candidate would you be more likely to vote for? Jackie Rosen, 40%. Arizona, 45%. Bob Casey, 46%. Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, 49%. This is precisely what I'm talking about when I say the Democratic Party is doing literally unimaginably good in comparison to the fucking awful performance demonstrated by the top of the ticket. They're doing this in spite of the top of the ticket, mind you. Think about how crazy that is. How does nobody recognize that this spells doom for how personally unpopular the president is? Is Biden cooking or getting cooked? What do you think? Biden is losing in every state that was polled right now, and every single senator in that state is winning. Every single Democratic senator is winning. Every single, in all of those states, with the exception of one, Biden is losing by massive margins too. I said, I, for one, am excited to watch two 80-year-old men yap about a bunch of issues they almost completely align on with respect to policy while acting as though they're miles apart from one another. Aaron Rupar, liberalism's greatest soldier, actually hit me with a quote tweet and fucking hit me where it hurts. He said, Trump supports stripping bodily autonomy from women. Biden does not. Trump supports taking healthcare away from tens of millions of people. Biden does not. Trump wants to round up migrants and put them in detention camps. Biden does not. This part is a little bit, excuse me. What? That part's a little weird. Trump supports executing drug dealers. Biden does not. Trump wants to withdraw from NATO and form an alliance with Russia. Biden does not. I could go on. What's really interesting about this take, some of the stuff that he's mentioning, not even fair to bring up in this conversation, considering that it's ironic because there are aspects of the Biden administration that is demonstrably better. Fango Lives is correct. There are aspects of the Biden administration that is demonstrably better. It's ironic that he didn't mention them, though. Like, for example, not eviscerating federal agencies and actually utilizing them, which Biden has done. But these guys are so permanently warped, posturing against Trump brain. The problem with liberalism is that it is inherently reactionary. Maybe not as bad as like the actual Republican attitude, but overall liberalism is also inherently reactionary as an ideology, which is precisely the reason why they always talk about the boundaries of what they are not, what they are up against. But slowly but surely, the things that you are saying that you should be voting for Biden for get smaller and smaller and smaller in that time frame. He didn't even mention any of the fucking good things that Biden has done. In my tweet, I singled out immigration, Israel, Palestine, and tariffs. Those are the three key issues that Biden is 100% aligned with Trump on. And then I also mentioned one aspect that he's not aligned with Trump on, which is his most important key difference between him and Trump. Problem here is liberals don't even fucking know how to advocate for the Democratic Party correctly. Liberals also don't personally understand how politics is supposed to work. Liberals only operate on lesser evil voting. People do not care about lesser evil voting. If you consistently advocate on just how not as bad as the Republicans you are going to whittle away all of the people that would readily vote for you. I mean, didn't we do that last election? Yes. Democrats have completely lost touch with the reality that you are supposed to offer something to people, not just simply engage in a defensive posture. You have to offer them something, and then you have to prove to the people that voted for you that it was a good idea to vote for you. Engaging in pure team sports to say like, no, it's better if it's a D instead of an R that's doing the same exact initiatives, then, you know, it feels like your team won and then you can own the fucking conservatives is not going to be good enough to actually win elections consistently. The Democratic Party's platform that they advocate for across the board, if we look at it holistically, is still significantly better than the Republican Party's platform. The issue is that the Democratic Party rarely ever follows through on their agenda, consistently loses and says, oh, well, it's because of the structural hurdles that were placed in front of us. Republicans never fucking say, oh, man, like Mitch McConnell never goes, oh, dude, we have structural hurdles. That's why we can't allow Obama to appoint a Supreme Court justice. That's not something that stops them. They do their bidding for their most loyal constituencies. The Democratic Party is supposed to say, look, if you vote for us, we are not as bad as the Republican Party. We will scale back on the Republican Party's death and destruction. We will scale back on the deregulation. We will scale back on the environmental impact, the damaging impact on the environment as a consequence of deregulation and many other things. We will defend labor rights. We will defend workers. We will create better economic opportunities, upward social mobility for some of the least wealthy Americans, some of the poorest Americans. All that good stuff. We will protect immigrants. We will protect marginalized people, whether they're trans, black, brown, whatever. And also women's rights. We will protect women's reproductive rights specifically. These are the things broadly that the Democratic Party is advocating for as they position themselves as not the Republican Party. The Republican Party is advocating for the opposite things, right? However, back in the day, the idea was that if you voted for a Democrat, at least they would never champion the Republican Party's position on these issues. Nowadays, the Democratic Party doesn't even do the lip service. They just say, fuck you, vote for us, and that's it. And in that time frame, in that process, the things that they can point to get smaller and smaller and smaller as the daylight between the two parties and their policies actually reduce. People do not vote on lesser evil voting boundaries. It is stupid, okay? And the expectation that, like, you are owed their vote as the Democratic Party is also stupid. The expectation that you are owed their vote and not vice versa, inherently undemocratic. Why the fuck do we have a democracy then? You have to fall in line and offer fealty to the Lord, to one lordship over the other? Okay, well, why do we have a democracy then? No, you're supposed to fucking earn our vote, man.